live at HCAOA. I'm sitting across from Matt Ericksen with Griswold Home Care. Matt, welcome to the studio, the
It's,
live studio.
this is an amazing setup at an awesome event. It's just great to be here across from you. Yeah, talk shop and get into it.
Yeah, and in person. We've done a lot of remote recording, which is
Yeah,
fun, which is a good time, but this is just next level
yeah, I
experience.
love it. You got to do more of this.
I think a lot of people know you. I've had you on, I think, every show that I've ever done. But for those that don't, just give us like high level organization, role. You're a franchise company. So yeah, how many franchises? How long have you been in home care? Give us a little lay of the land.
Sure. So yeah, Matt Erickson, I'm the vice president of sales and operations with Griswold Home Care. I'm out of the home office in Bluebell, Pennsylvania, just north of Philly. Been there for just past 5 years. Celebrated that in the beginning of October, and it feels like a minute. It's just flown by. But I've been in home care for a total of 13 years now, which I got corrected because I kept quoting like 11. And then one of my marketing people told me, no, it's, time flies. Yeah, Griswold's been here in the industry for 40 plus years. We started in the Northeast, just outside of Philadelphia and Chestnut Hill, and was founded by Jean Griswold. And now we've expanded to, as of last week, because it changes quite literally every week now, we have just over, I would say, 115 owner groups having over 230 locations in 32 states.
Okay. And you're coming from the agency side before, and then now you're at a corporate franchise company. Tell everybody a little bit about like pre Griswold, what you were up to.
Pre Griswold. Well, I've done every role except for the clinician role. So, but right before Griswold, I was with a Bright Star Care franchise owner, and predating that, because it kind of helps lends to why I arrived there, was I'd overseen as a director large pediatric operations in the Jersey Shore and Northeast Philadelphia, and I arrived with this Bright Star Care owner because I needed a different environment. I needed to try something new, challenging. And so I was with them from 2 months after they signed a franchise agreement with nothing on the books, to when I left there, and they had just eclipsed 4 million in annual revenue 3 years later. And then I never thought LinkedIn recruiting worked, but it worked. And Griswold had a recruiter reach out to me, and that's what pulled me over. I was like, you know what? I got so many life experiences now in this industry across different service lines. I can go join, and I can just have a bigger impact on so many more people through the owners, through their teams, through the caregivers. And it's been an amazing journey with them ever since.
And remind me, what was before home care for you? Do you have a business background, a finance background? Oh,
No.
history background. Oh my gosh. How could I forget history
I
background?
thought I was gonna be a high school track coach. The only way you're a coach in school was if you teach. Well, I took one education class. I'm like, I can't commit myself to teaching the same curriculum 30 years in a row. My ADHD was not going to allow it. And so that's why, just worked at a GNC, wandered in the darkness. And my wife applied to a job as a scheduling coordinator. She was like, I'm sick of you being miserable. You have an interview next Tuesday with Epic Health Services. You better learn about this company, and you better get the job ad, because I can't tolerate your bad mood anymore.
So do you feel like you've been brought up in home care, like your career, you've like, I don't know, that's the way I think about it, like being brought up in home care, like you almost don't know any different. Like this is your life, this is your profession.
I know I'm good at it. And that's where, like, I've never had a career aspiration. My brothers knew that right out of the gates. I really struggled with that growing up, because I just didn't know. I finally came to the conclusion of, I just want to be happy in the position I hold, do well in it, and let it cover my hobbies. I have a lot of hobbies, and I have passions and outlets outside of work. And I just found that there was this intersect with home care, where what drove me to coaching in track in school originally, I can coach here.
Mm.
I can make an impact. I'm not selling supplements like I did in my past life. Um, there's purpose behind what I do. I can make things. I'm very creative, and I like building things and making things. And I found that at home care, I could do everything that I found I enjoyed outside of my professional life, and I could find an outlet for it in my professional life. And I haven't seen an industry that can do all those things for me. And I'm exceedingly happy here in this industry, just having these conversations with you, with other brands and partners and our franchise owners, most importantly.
That's a really cool perspective.
So
I don't think any of us anticipated landing in home care, yet here we are. And it's so purpose driven, but there also is room for creativity and coaching and training. Like it is really diverse. Home care is surprisingly diverse, but also at the heart of it's like very mission driven, purpose driven, and we're making an impact on real people every single day.
the clarity around what we're doing is it's better than most industries, I would say, right? Where you're managing to a P&L versus we're managing outcomes. Where sure, we have to manage the business so that we can provide those outcomes, so we can sustain those outcomes. But it's all driven towards: are we having an impact with the caregivers that we employ? Are we having an impact with the families that we serve?
Yeah, we're helping people help people that are literally saving lives. Like
Yeah,
what's better than that?
that it's the cool.
Okay, I want to ask you one question that we're going to get into here. The question is, with the rising costs of care, how do you address clients' concerns on affordability for quality in home support? A lot of owners, operators are up against costs and families pushing back against cost. How do you respond to that?
Yeah, it's a great question. I was excited when I saw it. I'm like, oh, this is one, because this is what we're working on every day. And I can't say that I have the perfect answer, but I can say what we're doing, that we know we were testing, and we know that works, and that we have to, what I define as transactional caregiving. We're transactionally scheduling, where it's historically we have provided a caregiver to an hour, or maybe it's a live-in, but it's you pay for 1 hour, you get 1 hour of service, right? It's that one-to-one relationship, in a way, that dynamic that's not sustainable. We know the numbers say that there's going to be 58 million people over the age of 65 in 4 years. 70% of them are going to need care, but yet we look at the numbers in 2010. There's a 7-to-1 ratio of caregivers to clients.
Hmm.
4 years from now, it's going to be 4-to-1. So we can't keep lying to ourselves that the way that we're providing his care in this transactional environment is sustainable for the outcomes that are required, not only at the CMS level with a quadruple aim model, but with a guide program, and just outright, we're sitting across from Activated Insights with experience management. We can't sustain high levels of client and caregiver satisfaction in this transactional model. And so what we're looking at and pivoting to, and what I'm really excited about that Griswold's particularly investing in, is the solution based services to our families, to where we're targeting what's your outcome that you desire. Because we've discovered, and I'm sure others have seen this, that there's many different ways to get to the outcome that a family desires. But we have to understand that our customers, they're first time customers. They don't know what 4 hours will do versus 12 hours. And
Hmm.
if we don't do a good job explaining it to them, they are going to trust their assumptions, which we generally know first time customers, where we've all been that, are generally not correct or close to being accurate. But everybody understands what they want in life. They know what they want out of a service, from a value standpoint, a price standpoint. So if we pivot as an industry, as providers, to solution based approaches, families will better understand what they're paying for from an outcome delivery.
I was just going to say, what did you call service based solutions? I think that's punchy. And that's exactly what it is. So clearly you've thought a lot about this. What does this look like? Like, walk us through like the application of this. Like, I think you're saying fundamentally like rewriting the model.
Yeah, which is quite disruptive. It's a very volatile language if we actually think about it, because but this is something that stuck with me, that I've just it's there's no easy way to go about operationalizing, and that's my world I live in, is how do we take a great tool, program, software, hardware, whatever it may be, how do we get it actually to be form functional, sustainable? And that's what we have to do with this. We have to put enough effort. I don't think we're doing that into how we do it, and we have to look at really, really where the providers are at with the delivery of their services. And it's not an easy answer. And that's why I don't think we've done enough work on it, because you look at the industry, the average size provider does 2.3 million in revenue. That's between 20 to 35 clients, right? And then you have providers that are doing 20 million. There's 12 different answers to this question. And you have to look at what's your census, what's your what's been your historical differentiator in the market. And you look at, all right, how do I take this transactional hourly rate that I've been doing? I can't overcomplicate it, which we have a tendency to do.
Hmm.
And we have to, like, okay, do you want, does a family, all right, they historically, maybe they chose 3 4 hour shifts over the course of the week. Well, how do we package up respite hours? 12 hours of respite. What's your solution? Do you want to get away so you can go out and with your girlfriends to, go, say shopping, or do you want to go exercise, or do you want to have your life? Or, what do you want to buy value wise from a time standpoint? So you're not the caregiver, or is it respite to go on a vacation, right? We have to rebrand to that degree.
Mm. So that's what I was going to ask is what is in existence today, maybe some of your franchisees that are like tinkering with like kind of a solutions based service? Like, is there anything in existence today that you've seen that's working well? Or do you feel like it really is an overhaul across the board?
It's I'll speak to what we're seeing work really well right now, and what I'm really excited about, just the embracement that Griswold franchise owners have had of this remote monitoring technology, the onset of AI tools, is that we're putting forward service solutions to families that blend the system, caregiver showing up, the same caregiver showing up, so we have that consistency that we all come to appreciate, blending in our remote monitoring technologies, and providing those at a lower price point overall. And we're seeing client satisfaction in the combined feedback loop, and that's a critical part here. Is that we're blending the caregiver notes or with the remote monitoring feedback reports,
Mm-hmm.
and we're taking what historically was trailing indicators, and we're converting them into leading indicators now of like, okay, this was what last week's combined reports said. This is the decisions which we need to we need to make going forward to keep mom or dad here. And there's been good feedback on that so far.
Yeah, the way that I see it is like we're getting good at outcomes, but now like closing the loop on the outcomes is adapting our pricing model and the service structure to be tailored towards the outcome model.
It's wordsmithing it, and that's the challenging part, is that we have to take what we've historically done, and we have to just completely kind of almost like, Men in Black ourselves, like completely wipe our memory and just from a fresh angle, how do we talk about this in a completely different tone than providers have for the last 30 years?
Mm. So can you share some specific examples of what this would look like a specific outcome? And then how do you structure the service model and the pricing model to the outcome? Like, have you thought about like specific models, like how you would actually position this and break it down?
Absolutely. Come on, it's me. All
Okay,
right.
give me a couple. Give me a
So
couple. I'm
one of the
curious.
ways I looked at it is I approached it from a diagnosis standpoint, because what I started digging into and realizing is that, and I still have a lot more work to do here, and I'm sure probably could be educated on it. But I started with Parkinson's, and I was like, all right, Parkinson costs families $52,000 a year in just additional expenses, just the cost of care for that DX, right? And we need to understand that. But we also need to educate families to the reality of what this diagnosis is going to cost in one way, shape, or the other. And all right, so we know there's that threshold, there's that implication, and we have to build the service delivery to the family's need. Okay, so what does that look like? That takes, if we're going to do, say, a remote monitoring, and we're going to do some companion care, right? Parkinson's is degenerative. So depending on where we come into the journey of that individual, the needs are going to be different, but the delivery, we can do it value based, where you have maybe let's say, evenings susceptible. Maybe that individual may low blood sugar, or they struggle with medication management in the evenings. Well, remote monitoring will help, but it won't help as much as a caregiver on site. So if we work with the families to price those hours out, so let's just say, let's do maybe 12 hours. Let's just start there. Most families starting between 12 to 22 hours a week. We know that from our internal data, that if we start there, families can digest that cost initially. And they're getting used to it. So if we start at 12 hours and we layer in a, a 60, we're seeing between 35 to $70 in remote monitoring technology fees on top of care. Overall, it's a low cost of entry for a first-time customer to understand the value of the service, but we're
Mhm.
maximizing the outcome potential at minimal cost to them. They are not going to have a negative reaction to it per se, or we mitigate that chance. And that delivery system is scalable then. So now we can just increase the hours, or we can increase the monitoring technologies. We
Mm.
can go from remote monitoring to acoustic monitoring, to we can go to like electronic medication dispensement. Like it just runs the gamut of this additional options we can scale to keep them home, but understanding that by doing so and keeping them home, even if just we reduce one hospitalization that year, we save the family an additional costs anywhere from $6,000 to $17,000 just from one hospitalization, which covers the cost of care. We have to be able to articulate that to the families, help them understand that the realities of the situation they live in with the diagnosis that that individual has. And then this is the reality of what your expenses are going to look like. If we can help just from this cost of care from our remote monitoring plus blending with a caregiver deployment, if we can save you 75% of the expected cost of care for the diagnosis, you're more likely to buy because you understand what's at risk if you don't.
Mm. So this is going to be a semi big mindset shift for the operators, but there's not really a mindset shift for the families, the end consumers, correct? I guess like they may be familiar with like hourly based care, the hourly model,
Hmm.
but I think you said it a minute ago, a lot of these families, it's their first experience with home care, so they don't know any different. And so if we introduce a new service based solution to them, they won't know any different. Does that seem
Well,
accurate?
they may know because they're going to have fiduciaries involved, and sometimes it's going to be a discharge planner. There's going to be an advocate, or there's going to be someone that's familiar with the service. But what I remind a lot of people of, I think we don't consider is it's a first time customer in crisis. So now you have emotionally charged situation where there's some very real financial and consequences to making the right or wrong decision. How much better would you feel in a loved one's shoes if you're making a decision for mom or dad, if the person aside of you that's the provider is talking about solutions
Mm-hmm.
versus just I'm going to be in your home 24 hours a week.
Mm-hmm.
I'm thinking I don't want my privacy infringed by that.
Mm-hmm.
So it's as much about just how we're relating as humans to the person across from us, but but helping to articulate the value of why we're there. We may still be there 24 hours, but if we're talking about it in a way where we're explaining what you get from us being there in your life for 24 hours,
Mm-hmm.
it's easier for you while you're in crisis when you don't have the time to think. Because you have to make a decision by a certain, sometimes it's a day, 2 days. It's easier for the family to make a decision and to feel better about the decision because the provider helped them understand what solutions they could buy at what cost.
So, because you've spent so much time thinking about this, do you see any potential hurdles or obstacles to transitioning to this type of model? Like, think about your franchisees in existence today. You go and pitch them or position this to
Mhm.
them. What initial like hesitations or reservations are they going to have?
Well, I think it's change management at the end of the day. That is, I mean, it's fundamentally a very challenging subject by itself, regardless of what you're trying to change. It could be anything. It has to start with just the initial education and the awareness of, you know, sure, we have the silver tsunami, as everybody calls it, but nobody's actually told the story through numbers, right? Yeah, we've told the story. We've highlighted that there's this impending wave, but there's a reality of where the work we do is already challenging. It's only going to get more challenging if we continue to subscribe to the transactional care model. And there's a sense of urgency that we all kind of understand, but we haven't really truly dug in to understand the weight of it and just it's on us. And it's not like we have time. We're out of time
Mm-hmm.
and we have to create that understanding. It's not to create fear. I'm going to be very clear. I'm not trying to create fear to drive adoption. But if you, as the care provider, if you see your coordinators burning out, if you see good caregivers leaving the industry, are you asking why? Why are they leaving? It's because the environment, the transactional model is not working anymore. It's not
Mm-hmm.
sustainable when we're having 10,000 more people a day come in that need care. And I'm a numbers guy, not by happenstance. Again, I have a history degree, but what history taught me was there's a story. The numbers tell the story. We have to understand the numbers and we have to be able to convey those to our franchise owners,
Mm-hmm.
to the teams to understand the weight of what we need to do and what we need to change if we want to, from a very humanistic standpoint, not we don't want to suffer. In our professional life, you don't want to go home burnt out to your family every day. So how do we avoid doing that? We have to make these changes to sustain the delivery of the solutions that we so enjoy about this business.
Yeah. So is this all hypothetical, or are you going to roll this out with Griswold, like say 2026? Like, what's
Well,
your
we're already rolling out the hybrid, like, so that's in
okay?
place right now. Like, there's franchise owners that we work with that are deploying both the coordinator in conjunction with the remote monitoring, and that's the first instance, let's
Like
say,
phase
of it.
one
Yeah,
almost.
and that's really that needs to scale, and there needs to be more of that occurs. But the more drastic and the more, let's say, that more, let's say, extreme change, that's to come. But that has to be that's sequential. We have to help everybody understand what was is not is or is to be. Like, there is a very real change that's happening that's compounding with the ratio of people coming in that need care with the people exiting providing that care. That only compounds and gets worse. And it's not like we can just keep sustaining what we're doing right now.
Yeah, I just said this in a previous conversation. I think we're working our way towards more like holistic based home care, but I think this is also like more solutions based home care, and not just saying that because it sounds nice
Mhm.
and that's what we're aiming for. We're aiming for solutions, but it actually is reflected in the way that care is like structured, packaged, and even price. And I don't think we're there yet.
No, and I think that's just from the non-medical nature of what we do. But when you look at, home health, Quadruple Aim, the guide program, they are building CMS systems to that holistic approach. Why we're not seeing that as an opportunity as an industry baffles me, because I think, see, there's just such that alignment with home health to deliver these outcomes that can fall into these solution-based approaches that align with government payer sources, the payer source diversification that we're
Mm.
seeing, that's being adopted more. It's There's a hesitation to make this change that, we need to lean into these opportunities, not to stay
Yeah,
trained in.
stiff arm them. Like, oh,
Yeah,
we're not that. We're this. It's like actually we need to be aware of those changes and adapt with them in a way that's applicable to home care.
yeah, and not go home burnt out at the end of the day. Like, that's the key. I think that's what I think a lot of operators have to understand is, if you want to sustain your mental health as a provider, keep doing what you're doing, you have to adapt the business
Mhm.
to sustain the solutions.
Mhm. And the people that are succeeding right now in home care, they are nimble and they are adaptable. They're not stuck in their
Absolutely.
ways.
I have an $8 million franchise owner here in the Northeast that has gone warp speed with implementing this hybrid care model with these solutions of deploying the remote monitoring technology with caregivers. And she has a 10x on caregiver active roster versus the average for everybody else. And she could do it so quick. She got tons of moving parts, but yet she was able to do it because she saw the opportunity. And there's referral sources that told her, don't come, we don't want to talk to you. Now they're asking her, can you present to us? Can you present to our entire case management department? So their home health wants it. They just don't know
Mhm.
how they want it.
Mhm. Matt, this has been amazing. For anyone that hasn't connected with Matt, make sure you do. What's the best way for people to get in contact with you?
I'm on LinkedIn constantly, probably too much. So
Okay.
LinkedIn's great.
Okay.
Otherwise, my email is matt at griswoldcare.com.
Okay. I just think everyone needs to spend some time with you because, yeah, we just like dialed through this pretty quickly, but you have thought like long and hard about a lot of these things. And you only shared like a couple of like applications of this, but there's clearly more that you've thought of. And I think people could pick your brain on that for a long time.
There's
So
pages and notes that probably nobody wants to read, but I'm happy to talk about. And I love this. This is a passion of mine.
thank you for joining me live in the lab, Matt. This has been awesome.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me.